I want to start this show today on a serious note. We have a very, very important announcement to make. Unfortunately, because of the new C-63 bill, this will be our last show. And we'd like to thank everybody, all of the people that have been on the show, everybody that watches the show, for their support. But this is going to be our last show because there's no way that this show will ever endure the attacks that are imminent from our unique approach.
We just need to be able to find a new output for us to be able to deliver the Canadian real estate news to the people who deserve it the most. And we're going to be standing at the corner of Yonge and Dundas every Sunday, 10 a.m. from now on to deliver news to you.
To you. That'd be cool. Standing on the corner delivering news. What's it called now?
Thank God we don't have to do that.
Dundas, is it?
I don't know.
Thank God we don't have to do that.
Padawama or something like that.
Padawama Square.
Can't remember.
I'm kind of nervous about this bill, though. I mean, I feel like we're gonna have to start watching what we say here. We're gonna lose all this hard work we did over the last few years. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we are not on their radar. But
it's not that. That's not how it works, TK. People can report you. Anonymous people can report you and cost you. Like, you have to actually defend it and you have to actually deal with it. And you really can get like taken off of like YouTube.
Off of YouTube.
Well, listen, TK, come on.
No, what's my life going to be like?
Well,
what am I going to do?
Can you imagine if we made a joke about Trudeau and our channel just disappeared like after all this time? Wouldn't that suck? I mean, there would be worse things, of course, that could happen to us, but it would be really fucking annoying, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna leave the fate of the show in the hands of the powers that be, and we'll just continue to broadcast live from our home offices every Sunday.
We will not say anything like "fuck Trudeau" and that Trudeau's a fucking idiot and that he's ruined the whole fucking country. We're not going to say anything like that.
I haven't said that. So yeah, that won't be an issue for me.
No, we're not going to say
50% of the show won't have any issue saying that.
Like one side of the show and the other side will just be a blank screen. That might be more enjoyable.
I don't know that guy. I'm not associated with that guy. Yeah, but lots going on though. Lots of real estate stuff going on.
Crazy stuff.
Lots of people are really are getting into things.
We're pumping today?
Are we ever pumping?
I don't know. We are accused of pumping. You gave a stern warning last time.
I pump sometimes. So I'll try not to pump today. The bottom line is right now is we're in a spring market. And so things are happening out there. People are deciding to move into bigger homes, into smaller homes, into one neighborhood, out of the next neighborhood, going in for jobs, losing jobs, death, divorce, all that kind of stuff is happening. So there's a lot of activity out there right now. And we're getting a lot of calls from people, more than we've received in a long time, to be honest with you. Ad calls, buyers, sellers, people looking to make a move. The amount of activity right now is just crazy. Like, we're all just slammed.
And this is what I hear from everybody. And like random people, fans of the show who call me are saying, holy cow, like, sorry, I didn't call you sooner because I'm so busy today.
Yeah.
Like, everybody.
What do you mean? Like, they're real estate agents?
They're real estate agents and everybody's busy.
Like, I've been selling a lot of suitcases here down at the flea market. You know, Darryl, I think people are traveling again, eh? Guys, thanks for watching today. If you haven't yet, drop us a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell and be like Dawn. You know, get another YouTube account and double subscribe.
Double subscribe like Dawn.
You're telling everybody else to subscribe. Well, have you double subscribed?
D is for double subscribe like Dawn.
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'm double subscribed. Do it yourself. Didn't get to fix the show, though. Didn't get to fix the show.
Please subscribe. And
well, I don't think too much else has picked up. I mean, I don't think furniture sales have picked up. For sure, they have not picked up. I don't. I think there's definitely
I talked
segments.
To a nail salon owner, a new client of mine. I listed a house last night, and it's going on the market next week. And they own a nail salon, and they're like, "Yeah, this year's business is not as good as it was last year.
Not as good." Yeah. So, but where are they located? Because that might have a big effect on the nail salon.
No, nice neighborhood.
Oh, wow! And sales are down on nails.
People are less people are doing their
I guess
nails.
they're doing their nails at home now to save some money. I mean, that's a good cutback
I
right
don't think
there.
they do them at home. I think they just go less often, right?
Less often. That
So
doesn't
instead of
work,
going,
TK. If
I
you
don't know what
know anything
girls,
about that doesn't
I don't
work.
know,
This
I
is a
don't know
once a
how
week endeavor here,
often they
bro.
need to go, but
This is a
yeah,
budget line, okay? This is how
yeah,
much it costs. This is a
yeah,
budget item. Well,
yeah.
so I guess the nail salons are not the ones keeping us out of the recession because the GDP numbers came in and apparently, we're still not in a recession
We're
technically.
not in a recession technically on the metrics that they use. Yeah.
Things
Right.
like GDP's okay, but it takes a hell of a lot more manpower in order to produce however they track this. I guess in units. I don't know how the hell it works, but like it takes a lot more Canadians to produce the same GDP that we used to do with a lot less Canadians. And
Yeah.
I mean, you see these lineups of people. At least I have seen the videos of the lineups of people. I'm pretty sure they've gone viral. And it's
Yeah.
like, how can they be productive while they're waiting
They're
in
waiting
that
in line for a
line?
job.
Right?
So I mean, obviously the population's grown. I mean, you can just see the demographic changes in all the different stores that you're going to and who's working these jobs. And, they're all, God bless them. They're all working hard and
They're
doing the things they need
trying.
to do.
Yeah.
I think that one thing that, this microcosm of real estate people, we're all very like heavily focused on real estate all the time. So we're just like, people are in trouble and they're, they can't afford their mortgages. And yeah, there's like a ton of people who are in that space. And what happens when people can't afford to pay their mortgages is they go get second jobs, or they go and they, cut back on their expenses, or they, don't travel to the places that they want to travel to. And that takes money out of the economy, which means that the guy who's running the nail salon can't hire more people. Right.
Right.
And so then that person doesn't have a job, which means they don't spend money somewhere else. And so there's this trickle down effect. But it takes a really long time for this to be able to work its way through the economy. Like, I'm not an economist, and I can just understand that this is not going to happen just overnight, where just all of a sudden the economy is just going to see this slowdown. This just takes, it's just after a while, people eventually go, I can't afford to get my nails done every week anymore. But
Mhm.
one person, it might be after 3 months because they're a little bit more responsible. The other person might ride it out for 2 years,
Yeah.
until their
But
hair dye is
there's
3 inches
enough
down away from their scalp, and they're going, all right, I can't make it to the nail salon anymore. Like
But there's
there's,
enough of them that the nail salon's feeling it now, right? And so that one
yeah,
probably isn't isolated. And what I think on top of those kind of things where people are kind of doing cutbacks, I think there's a bigger problem that I recognized this week. When I was thinking about this is there's lineups of people from India here, okay, looking for jobs, students, immigrants, whatever they are. I personally have 4 Indians in India working for me on a project that I'm working on
mm-hmm.
because it's so much better quality, faster, and cheaper for the exact same thing. So why would I hire someone locally when I can get better over there? And so you got them coming here for these opportunities, and we're hiring people over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. Even just this week, I hired someone from Albania, okay, to do some work for real estate. I get better, quicker, faster for like such a small fraction of the price. What would cost me $7,000 here is going to cost me $700. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of waiting 3 weeks for some fat company that's too busy to do it, I got a guy who's like, I'll do it in 4 days. Okay. Just give me 4 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And
please. Okay, 3.
$700.
I won't sleep.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
And people, I post this on Twitter and people say, you're a jerk and you're lowballing people. And I'm like, I'm not lowballing them at all.
yeah,
I'm giving them exactly what they're asking for, the amount of time they're looking for.
yeah,
And I'm expecting maybe to have them ask for a couple more bucks and take a little bit longer. Right.
yeah,
But it's like, look at the value there. Right.
yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. So on top of all the local issues, between AI and labor abroad or services abroad that are just as good and cheaper, and you want to stay profitable here because you live here and all your expenses are going up. So as a small business owner, these are easy ways to stay profitable right now, locally, afford to keep your house and afford to keep your lifestyle. But locals are going to get fucked in the process, right?
Well, there's certain jobs that can be outsourced and there's certain jobs that can't, right? So I see where you're going with this. But those people are finding jobs. You know, like I know they're in line and you see them in line, but you know, they'll keep lining up until they find a job. And that's the thing that's keeping the economy going, is that the job market is still a healthy job market, right?
Yeah.
We
Who the
still
hell's
have
hiring
a
people?
relatively low unemployment rate, and that
Everybody.
people are basically saying, I got enough customers to be able to give you that minimum wage job, or, you know, give you that job in the, you know, service industry or something else that's going to be able to, you know, keep these people afloat. Now, you know, where they're living and how much money they're going to spend of that, you know, is not easy. You know, I got a friend who's from India, who goes back home and he sends money back home, and you know, he's like, I have no intention of staying here, but he came here as a student and he was working, and then he's, you know, coming back and forth, and he works pretty, you know, basic type of work, even though he's got a good degree and stuff like that, and that he's hoping to, you know, further his education and get into that field a little bit more. But right now he's got to work some basic work, and he tells me like what he takes home and how much money that, you know, gives him. I think it was like $4,000 a month or something like that, that he's able to save and bring home, because he's living at a place with, like, you know, a bunch of different dudes. And you
Like
know,
30 of them.
that's like way more. I think it's 4 times what he could be earning. So if he was working in India, he's earning a quarter of what he's saving here. And yet he's still covering all of his expenses and everything too, plus a flight when he has to go back and all that kind of stuff. So he's like, it's just way better here comparatively. That's why you're getting $700 work in Albania. Like the rest of the world, they're just the living expenses are lower, the currency exchanges are different, and you know, we're lucky that we're so close to the U.S. I
Food
mean, at the end of the day,
prices.
imagine if we weren't next door to the U.S. Pick Canada, pick up Canada, and go and put it into another part of the world, South America, Asia, Europe,
Put it somewhere
Africa.
hot,
We
TK.
are the worst country. And we'd have so many economic issues. You know what I mean? We'd be a bunch of friendly people who are just giving away all the money, giving away all the resources. And we would all just be saying, come on, guys, all right, it's your turn now. All right, it's your turn now. And no one would be reciprocating. You know, so we're very lucky that we're next to the US. I mean, US is a powerhouse, and their economy is doing well. And they've had so much success over the years, and that they're still going to be a global power for a long time, no matter what anybody says about Rick or Bricks or any of the other attempts.
Well, but
any
know
other
what?
coup attempts.
It's one thing to be the number one power. It's another thing to be the number 3 or 4 power. And what we're attached to right now is a real declining empire that might even get invaded soon. And I wanted to kind of talk about this, like what happens if something does happen on their soil? What happens here in Canada? Like,
if I'm going to invade the States, I'm taking over Canada first.
You're taking over, coming through Canada, right?
Have the whole border on the
so
north.
We're first. Do we
like,
get
here, guys,
nuked, or are we too?
I don't know. I don't think we're qualified to talk about this, but I guarantee that would be a strategy that somebody's thinking about.
Canada first. They would probably be smart. I mean, we got all the resources. Okay, so we're way off track. TK, I have
we got news.
A request for people right now. I mean, even though it's our last show, more than likely, hit the subscribe button anyways and give us a little boost. We're like really close to 7,000 subs right now, TK.
We hit it quick. We just hit 6,000 in January.
I feel like we just hit 6,000, but we're about to hit 7,000. Our Instagram account is on absolute fire. I don't know what the hell happened
Real
there.
Estate Show. If you're on
Check
Instagram.
out the Clips channel. Hit something. Press another thing after you hit that thing, and tell somebody about it.
A bunch of words.
TK, I wanted to talk about one thing before we brought our guest on. I think is pretty important. But you look like you want to talk about something too.
Maybe it's the same thing, so you go first.
Well, I doubt it, but somebody asked us in the comments to talk about it, and we've talked about these kind of things, but we've got, more receivership news and more bankruptcy news with Vandyke. That's kind of been in the news. And I think it's another important story, because Vandyke is like not some new hot shot that just came on the block and bought too much and, got an inflated head and screwed everything up.
Stevie Holmes. Okay. I get it.
Lots of other people, but Vandyke, like, they've screwed up 8 sites now. $350 million. Okay. Like this is a big deal. 2,000 units are not going to get finished because of this. That people have deposits on, TK. This is a big mess. Okay. And these guys, like, this is, I don't know how long the shell game's been going on for, but like these guys got a big, one of those big MZOs. I don't know which one we say here in Canada.
And you know, if you got one of those, you know people.
You know a couple of people,
you know
right?
people.
At
You
least
didn't get
one.
that MZO just because you were in the right place at the right
Right.
time. You were like, hey,
Yeah.
what can I bring your daughter to her wedding?
That's right. So after an MZO, there's a lot more value created for the site, right? Because now all of a sudden you're zoned and you got all this crazy zoning you weren't even anticipating probably when you bought the project, or maybe you did, because who knows? But anyways, now you can refinance. So like these guys have been refinancing and moving money from this site to that site and trying to keep this thing going for I don't even know how long. And
without building anything.
well, I mean, with building some stuff along the way, for sure. I mean, these guys, you know,
but on the sites that went down, nothing ended up getting built.
Some of these big ones are like just left in the lurch with a bunch of deposits that are people are going to lose portions of them, and now people got to find a new place to live, and they're probably already waiting a couple years for the project to get going, and like there's trades that are owed money. So like trades are going to go bankrupt because of it. And then they won't pay their employees and they won't pay their subs. And like, it's like this crazy thing that just keeps happening and happening.
Yeah. Well, you saw the Terrion news, right? That Terrion announced that they had $90 million in claims this year compared to like
the highest
2 or 3 million.
Insane. And it's just gonna
that's mostly deposits, right? Like when you look at deposits, because when the builder goes bankrupt and Terrion's got the insurance on the deposit, those are all the claims that are coming in because the people are saying, hold on a second, how am I going to get my money back, right? And they have upwards from $60,000 to $100,000 of insured deposits to pay out on, right?
Well, I think some of it's got to be from like defective product too, like deficiencies.
But like I guarantee you that has to be deposits. That has to be a huge number of deposits. But there's no way that they've got that much of a sway from one year to the next in defective product.
I just don't understand how such a big company with so many projects and so much revenue could screw it up so bad.
Interest rates. So when interest rates rise, Darryl, like you've written out performers before. And if you had written out the wrong performa going into this environment, I mean, I'll give you your Kingston Road deal, for example, right?
Yeah.
Hanging on to that one for an extra year.
Oh, killed, dead.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah. Right.
But we weren't Vandyke. We were the smaller guys that would have been, you know, overextended at the wrong time. Right. We were not those. Vandyke's a big company. Hey, Jared, welcome to the show.
How are you doing this morning?
Great. How are you?
Excellent.
Why don't you tell us who you are and what you're up to?
He's in a boardroom on Bay Street here. We're just over across. We're on the island. We're just
see that. Yeah, I'm in my boardroom at PSR office at King West here. I'm a realtor downtown. I do some land stuff. I'm doing some warehouse stuff. Doing some development stuff. That's it.
Like stuff. We like stuff over here. Stuff is good.
Yeah, what's happening? Nice so it's been a while since we saw each other. I think didn't I come down to your office last time we met?
You in this very boardroom.
In that very boardroom.
My favorite thing about Darryl is I meet him and 30 seconds in he goes, you know, I hate realtors, right?
Was that my warm intro?
I think that was literally in the first 30 seconds to a minute. And I was like, I like this guy. He's gonna not pull any punches. It's good.
Why was I there? What were we doing there?
We were just shooting a breeze about assembly. I was just getting into, I kind of ran you through a very tricky assembly that I was looking at up on Yonge Street, which is like dead and not worth doing right now. And part of your advice was that. And I was just getting general land assembly advice, I think, at that time, because I was putting together, and I'm still kind of working on, as we discussed, you say these deals come together and then they fall apart, and then they come together and they fall apart, and then everybody's mad at you, and then they come together like, 2 years after you started. I'm about 18 months into that 2 years on a set of land right now. But land's tough to do right now. A lot of sellers still want their top dollar. They want the 2019 price, and they're not going to get it. And I don't see that coming back kind of ever, to be honest with you, but I think at least not for the foreseeable future. And everybody's waiting for something else to happen. And it depends on, when they bought it. Some guys bought this land in the 80s. Some guys bought it 3 years ago. So everybody's got different motivations and different levers that they're trying to pull. And you're just kind of waiting for everybody to see other opportunity elsewhere that they can take their money and run and do something with. Or enough maximum pain that they're going to let it go. And
Are you seeing
it.
any deals actually transact right now? Are you seeing anybody
No.
actually
No.
put deals
I'll
together?
tell you, I've talked to a developer about coming in on a project. It would be a multi-tower project, maybe 3 to 5, depending on how many pieces of this assembly we get. And they would be willing to come in. They've got some cash. They're not going to be the main, equity guys on it. But a lot of the LP guys I talk to, they're kind of telling me the story that we see on a small scale going up, which I never really computed properly, which is, they're saying, look, we bought land for 50 or $100 million in 2022 or 2021, but we had a 2-year time horizon.
Mm-hmm.
But now when we're going to close, we thought we were getting $70 million to close on this, and we were only putting 30 in, but now it's only appraising at 48 million or 56 million or whatever it is. And we've got to put in an extra 25 to get our financing. And we have to do it now because, the guys on the other side also can't just keep extending because maybe they've got a loan that's called in. So I find even, kind of going up the food chain, people are getting to the point where they're underwater. I'm sure Darryl knows this better. Like there's a lot of guys that bought a lot of property that are all underwater right now, whether the bank is underwater on it, the investor's got no equity in it right now. And the only way to exit any of these projects are going to be to build them out. And it's hard to even get to that point because the pre-sales are not coming in. So I think everybody is waiting right now. They're really waiting for a change in environment, but there's only so long you can wait because the longer you wait, you're just starving yourself out. Like how skinny can you get until you just keel over? They're getting to that point in a lot of it. What I have found interesting is talking to some of my guys that they're basically saying June-ish, like kind of June 1st is like what they're thinking is a lot of the big pension funds are going to come in and start buying everything. And they've kind of told me that since last year. I think it's still true. I haven't talked to them in the last maybe 30 or 40 days, but it seems like basically a lot of the very big guys are waiting to pounce when all of these, as you guys were talking about, it sounds like Vandyke, when all these guys that have zoned properties coming through, and there's a lot of receivership coming through. The few lenders that I talk to, I would say in aggregate, probably 200, 250 sites are going to receivership this year. That's what they've got slated. Now, they won't dump them all out, but they're going to start peppering them out over time.
250 sites?
Yes. And now that's not high rise. That's, a mix of
like houses.
I would say a lot of it is the smaller stuff going up to, I would say anything probably in the 30,000 to 200 square foot range. Like that GFA is really hard to do.
This would be like across the province.
I would say
Southern Ontario.
GTA.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough because they won't tell me exactly where it is.
Yeah. Like it wouldn't be like Toronto proper.
No, it's not going to be like
the sites that are all within. Yeah.
But I would say, like how I look at it is, I would say, yeah, GTA. That would be kind of my guess. I don't think
it goes to Hamilton now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it depends on how far GTA is. It's St. Catharines.
So hold on a sec. Can we back up a sec? Because you said something that kind of struck something with me that I never considered, and I have not heard about this, but this doesn't mean it's not happening. So if I was a brilliant developer a couple of years ago and I had made a deal with a seller and had got myself a long closing, what you're saying is that it may not have been so smart because now the value is not where it needs to be in order for them to get their financing that they perform it. Is that possible?
I can only see their density increasing though over that time, right?
But it's at the per square foot basis. So say you paid 200 a square foot
for land or for GFA?
GFA.
Okay.
And now if it's coming in at, call it 120, because all of
Suppose
the other
there are
costs
some
have
areas where
risen.
that's
They're
possible.
financing it that, yeah, based on the per
Yeah.
buildable. Yeah.
And I
then
only
rates
know
too.
it
And then rates too, that kind
anecdotally.
of compounds it.
But the
Yeah,
GFA
exactly.
is probably higher.
So
This is an interesting consideration. I never
Yes.
kind of thought about that. I'd love an example or something like that, because I'm trying to think of who would be so dumb. But I guess there's some guys that would be dumb. Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, like, it's only dumb in retrospect. And that's a tough thing with a lot of this is you're like, I think a lot of people, the best people act a lot and act quickly, but you're only a genius in retrospect and you're only stupid in retrospect, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Because you don't know what's going to happen. Everybody that was lining up land 2019 to 22, they were going to make a fortune if rates stayed 2%, 3%. Because that's what
but if you were thinking or in tune, you were like, holy shit, I better get out of everything around that time.
And
right?
some
Like,
people,
it was like,
yeah, some people did. But then you have guys that just said, now's the time to grow. And I think at that time, what probably you were seeing, and I wasn't doing a lot in land at that time, so I can't speak to it, but a lot of sellers, I believe, would do these longer closes and extend these because they were getting top dollar. So
right.
ultimately,
To get the top dollar. That's
Yeah.
why they did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this comes down to developers should actually be structuring their deals as a percentage of revenue purchase. Like, this is how I would go into it blindly right now. I would say, look, I can afford 7% land to revenue ratio. I will give you 9% on close, some, pieces in between to keep the relationship going and make sure your debts are covered.
Both sides are savvy. I think that would be a
but it's,
a deal you could
don't know
structure.
who owns what. One person inherited the land, one person's running.
Yeah, good luck doing that on an assembly with more
they're not going to be like, sure, buddy.
Yeah.
You're
And
gonna tell
that's
me exactly how much money you made, and I'm going to get a percentage of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's going to be honest. And then what are we calculating it on? Is it the saleable square footage or the GFA?
No, but that's a density bonus. This is nothing new. Like, people have done density bonuses that are very transparent and fairly easy to incorporate into the deal.
Yeah, you need like 3 metrics that are easily trackable that you can't monkey around with too much.
I mean, even with a density bonus, there's ways to monkey around, I suppose, if you were.
But we were looking at a site. I won't say where it is. Darryl, I brought it up to you. I told you how many units they had sold. Remember, I told you there's a couple hundred units and that they sold about 150 or something like that.
I don't.
Okay. Anyways, that's the exact scenario. Jared, you're absolutely right. They bought it in 2019. They paid crazy prices. They have been, they got it zoned. They're selling right now. Sales are slow. How long can they hold on to that? Like, I don't know what their situation is. We'll find out. But that would definitely be a site that I would say is going to be up for receivership unless those guys have really deep pockets. Because there's just no way. The prices that they paid there and how much density they even got wasn't even really that impressive.
No, and so how do the pension funds make a decision of when to pounce? Because I mean, I know I'm personally looking at sites that are, under application or very close to zoned right now, and I'm, putting the dots together, and I'm seeing, the same company has many of them on the market. And so, I mean, I'm not a genius. So everybody else looking at these is probably seeing the same thing and going, hold on, these guys must not be in a good place right now. Right. And of course, every time you ask, why are they selling? What's the answer you get? Right? They need the money for another job,
project
right?
that
Better
they're going to be making way more money on. And this one here, it's just, they got a racehorse over there. So this one here is just a pony,
Right. Right. Yeah. So, but literally every time. And so I think anybody with half a brain in this industry is going to go, I'm going to just not engage right now. I'm going to wait a little bit longer and kind of see what happens. Right.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that there's not too many people that have to do something right now. Right.
No.
If you have to do something, then you probably shouldn't be in the industry. Right.
I think the only guys that have to do something regularly are the guys that have their own staffing to actually build, where they have to keep their guys working to keep their guys. And they'll buy jobs just to keep everybody on site and continue building. But that's a very small percentage of the industry.
But continue building and like forcing a new project because you have nothing is like totally different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the very
right?
few guys
One
are
is
gonna be able to do
strategic
that.
and one is like, like we better keep the wheels moving or we're gone. Like we're
Yeah.
bankrupt.
Yeah.
How many
I
people
think, I
must
think
be
there's a
just
lot
on
of
the
guys that are in that
verge?
position, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
gotta be. There's
Yeah.
gotta be.
Yeah.
But
And I
but
think, sorry,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was
You're
going
the
to say,
guest, Jared. You speak more.
I think what we're
Good luck.
like, how I look at everything is a forcing function for something. It's either up or down, right? And all this pain that's coming through the development is going to translate. It's not going to come into lower prices later.
No.
It's going to come through a lot of product not coming in through the pipeline.
Less
3
inventory.
years down, 5 years down, way less inventory.
Glut.
People are going to be pushing for higher prices at some point because it's their only project that's moving. And especially once they get it into the ground and they've got their financing, those last 5-10% of units are going to be, double the profit of everything else because they have to make up. And people are going to be releasing projects a lot less often. I think as we see, like 2019, maybe land to revenue was 20% and it's trickling down to 7, 8, 9% in some areas right now. I think it's going to get lower, but once it gets lower enough and we kind of get on the other side of this, people I think are going to buy up land and they're going to be a lot more conservative with their launches. That would be my guess. They're going to say, we've got 10,000 in the pipeline, but we're only going to pepper out 300 a year as we have to. Build, complete. They're going to be doing that a lot more. And it's going to translate into much higher prices across the city. That my opinion is prices will rise 25, 26 on the resale market and the pre-con market further and further.
Stop
That's
pumping the market, Jared. Like, come on.
no.
Like,
You're
trying
it's actually
trying to
my
gas
fear.
everybody up here.
No. It's actually,
I know
everybody's
it's
worried
annoying.
about a crash all the
Yeah.
time. And I'm always worried about the prices skyrocketing.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
It's exactly what it is.
A steady escalator is nice.
We're trying to build more.
Well,
Yeah.
but and so what's happening right now is they're trying to direct I think things away from the rental, like in the condos, and more towards the end users buying the condos by reducing some of the red tape, the timelines for this product to get on the market. And I think simultaneously, the developers and builders are recognizing that like maybe 80 stories is not a good idea and nobody really wants to live up there, right? Maybe we need to bring it down to like 40 where it's a little bit more humane and people will want to live.
But the cost of land isn't there yet. And so
right. So
the issue. And so
it's a big screw up.
What goes first here?
Plus what Jared was saying about all the units at the end being more profitable. I think what a lot of developers are probably seeing right now is those are big units that you have to sell for less per square foot and are harder to sell because they're probably up high and they're huge. And if you want to get your per square foot price, it's $2.5 million for this condo, right?
Yeah.
It's a real, there's a lot of factors on top of like labor shortage and like everything else.
Market optimism right now. I mean, like nobody's buying
confusing.
Right now. There's no investors out there, like unless it's like a really hot launch, unless there's something that, everyone's got to have. And we were talking about this last show that, it's now just the sales game on the pre-con side has totally changed. The guys are now really, resorting to the tactics. It's no longer like this is a great site and your clients are going to love it. It's like, hey, let's get them all to come to the same spot so they see other people buying, and we're going to get them to all fill in the worksheets because they're going to think this is a great project.
It's time to get the paid actors. Everybody that's looking for a job. Hey guys, here's $100. Come stand in line to.
Well, it was just in
everybody
the news.
To get it hyped up. Yeah,
it was just on Twitter. Actually, I shouldn't say in the news. Geez, it was just on Twitter about the guy in Brampton. It's bigger than the news.
Oh right, I saw that yesterday.
Fake offers, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, pre-con. This is basically the same thing. Look, I'm going to have 200 people, paid actors, all at the event for everyone to think that these are all real buyers, right? And then everyone's going to want to fill out a worksheet, right? Just get everyone to start writing their names on these worksheets. All right. Give them $200 each.
So I'll tell you what I'm looking at because I have some guys that I'm talking to and they want to get out of, they need to get another 30% sold. And we're trying to come up with ways like, what do we do to get sales moving in a legitimate way? And what I'm doing is I'm talking to people and saying like, why wouldn't you buy pre-con right now? Give me all of your opinions. And a lot of it is, standard stuff. It's not going to cash flow. It's not this. And I'm going through and I'm working out guarantees for each one of these things. So I have a bank that will guarantee a close, even if you have a job loss. They'll hold the rate for a few years, but they'll guarantee your close. So if you put an offer here now, 4 years from now, it closes 6 months before you lose your job, you're still going to get closed. So that risk factor is ticked off. They'll hold the rate for 3 years from now, which is a good amount of time for most projects. Probably on a larger project is not, but a smaller project, it might be reasonable as long as, you're getting close to the end of sales. And then doing things like rental guarantees. I think developers that are going to be savvy and are actually going to move their product are basically going to take all the worry out of the purchase.
Mhm.
And that's what's going to get, if you have a really good offer where I say, hey, Darryl, come in, give me your 100 grand. I'm going to give you interest on your deposit. I'm going to guarantee your mortgage to close. I'm going to guarantee your first year of rental if you put it onto the market. I'm going to give you the right to assign. I'm going to give you right to lease. One thing I'm trying to talk to the developer about is picking the occupancy date, like not just taking, a January 1st occupancy date because that's when it's ready. Like I want to take it in April, May, June, or sometime of a good rental market if my client's going to be putting it into the rental market. Can we work that out? Finish our units towards the end. If, there's an end user that's moving in, they can move in January. But if we want to get into a good rental market, put it, in the time where the rental market's hottest. So a few of these things to guarantee performance will bring some investors back to the market, I think. But it's about putting confidence back into the marketplace and confidence back into the consumer to say, hey, I'm okay with parking some money here. I think, the Junction site's offering 8% interest on deposits now. Like 6% is
8% commission to the
on top of the 8% interest on the
Yeah.
deposits.
Yeah.
Holy,
Yeah.
because that's how you get it sold. That's what you do.
That's how you get it sold.
Pay
You
the
just
realtors to
don't
show
lower the price. Whatever the fuck you do, give them
That price per
whatever
square
they
foot's
need.
never changing.
And you know what? So on that, I think, was it last week, a couple weeks ago, I watched your show and you guys were talking about developers used to not lower the prices, really. They'll give you an incentive and all that other stuff. And I had a client come in where he didn't become a client, but we talked about him becoming a client. He had a house, he leveraged, took the equity out of his house, bought a pre-con. Now he's coming to close. He paid almost 1.3, and the developer selling a bunch at 900 to $1 million. All around him in the strip of townhouses. Yeah. And of course, it's not appraising now. And I'm like, are you not allowed to go back to the developer and say, hey, you made this impossible for me to close. How are you keeping my deposit now? And I got him a mortgage. I got him everything so he could close. And we were going to put his regular house on market, which also declined in value, but not nearly as much. And he just said, no, we're going to take the loss. He just basically said, no, we just feel the market will come back for our smaller home. We're going to stomach this loss. And it's not a small loss, it's
so close on the new build.
No, they refused. He straight up said, I'm not going to try to close on the new build.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to take the loss. I'm going to
the
stay where I got.
Take the loss?
Yeah.
What about
take
the
the
lawsuit?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Well,
I said, you should be considering going after talk to your lawyer and go back. We talked to the lawyer. But it's, sometimes you can't convince people to do what's in their interest. But I really see that there should be a challenge on this because all of those houses that sold, if he paid 1.3 and the developer's selling at $1 million later, they should all be written at 1.3 with 300 cash back, something along those lines to keep the appraisals there. Because they tanked that market there.
I really think we have
just don't think they'll sell though. Like that's the issue. At the end of the day, they need to sell. The market changed. I know Darryl had mentioned that. I'm sure there was cases where the developer got sued, but there's definitely lots of cases where the developer has had to lower their prices in order to get it sold, or the next phase comes out. Maybe not the same phase, but I definitely think the same phase.
No, but now it's in the agreement. It says
we had
they
Mark
can do
Morris
it.
on. Yeah, Mark Morris was on and saying that some developers were giving concessions on closing. So there were instances where they were like, look, let's try to make a deal here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, but they are going to do everything they can to keep those prices elevated. They're giving we had the Porsche offering there that we had on the one ad. Obviously all those pre-con incentives that you were mentioning there, those are all really, popular. I've seen the commission increase. I mean, what do you do at the end of the day?
I really think we need to restructure the way things work here. And I don't think investors should be able to buy condos. And I don't think investors should be able to buy houses. I think anybody that wants to invest in real estate needs to be put in a pool with somebody building a building that's made for renters, okay? Or a subdivision of houses that is specifically for renters, and it's owned by a corporation that runs it properly, not all this bullshit just to get units on the market, because that's the way the financing works now. It's
Yeah.
so fucking stupid, and it's really destroying everything. Like, build the buildings and let people move in, because you built a great building in a good area that people want to like move into right now. Done.
Yeah.
Right? Like, build the goddamn buildings somehow, but don't rely on greedy people planning on flipping a piece of paper in order to get these buildings built, and then have like all like this hodgepodge of ownership within a building that doesn't even give a shit about the building, because they care about their $200 of cash flow baloney, right?
Mhm.
Because they have 8,000 doors because they put $1,005,000 deposits 5 years ago. But like, there's lots of this. These guys come and buy a floor in a building. It's so dumb. Take that money and invest with somebody building a building, right? A purpose-built rental building.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, just funnel it that way.
I think how we're structured. So a lot of what you're saying is, so, in the US, I talked to a developer in Miami a few years back, and they were getting all stressed because they had to start selling 20% pre-sale when they used to never have to sell any. This is like years ago. And I was laughing. I was like, well, we're at 80. We're always selling out this building before it gets built. And what I think the US has, I don't want to say always right, but what helps their markets in certain areas is that you can just get a building approved and you've got some cash and you can say, I can service this loan till close. Lend me $100 million for construction so I can build this building out. And you can just go start building it. You don't have to wait, 4 years to go through this whole process. And I think, like what Darryl said, there's certain restructurings that we need within the industry to get stuff delivered on market. Like, my opinion, if a building is small enough, you should just have like basically zero development fees. If you're bidding 30 units into a small area and the numbers are just never going to work because you got to sell a 2,000 a square foot for this tiny building with no amenities, it's okay. Just let them build, cut the development charges way down, and get it moving. Like, you need to just get everything cranking as fast as possible. And all we have is bureaucracy. We have roadblocks at every stage.
Sure.
There's bureaucratic, there's financial, there's economic, there's all these things. And you just have to move it all in the direction where all the aligned incentives are. Get units on market and get end users in those units.
Are you a real estate agent and you're looking to make a change anywhere in Ontario? Guess what? We're hiring. Frankly and Associates, #1 team in the GTA for all RE/MAX teams, #1 team for all teams from all companies for number of units sold throughout Toronto. So if you're looking to make a change, best decision I ever made was to join Frankly and Associates. Go to jointeamleo.com and we can set up a call. Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, the system is broken. I mean, I understand why we don't have it the way that Florida has it or anywhere in the States.
Of course,
because
yeah.
when they've gone through their issues, they've got empty buildings that aren't sold.
Yeah.
And, there's big losses there. And you know who the bank cares about the most? Themselves. And when it's
Sure.
$100 million loan, it's the bank's problem.
It's the
Mhm.
bank's
When
problem.
you got a buyer who's got an $800,000 mortgage, it's the buyer's problem.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the issue. And so the banking system here is designed to be able to protect our banking system, not the
Yeah.
individual.
And that's another.
It's so obviously not working. So Tom Story put up a post this week. Okay. Current active listed condo inventory. This is not new stuff. This is new stuff is on top of this that's sitting around. Okay. But this is kind of shocking. Okay. Vacant 44%. Okay. I'm guessing they're not vacant because they're, about to move in and they're end users. So they're probably investor units that are empty right now that are listed, and they're vacant on purpose because they know they're going to sell them, right?
Mhm.
We have owner occupied is 30%. Tenanted is 22%. So now let's add the 22 to the 44. We have 66% at least are investors, right? Right? Because they're tenanted or they're vacant.
Mhm.
And then, I don't know, partial occupancy 4%. So we've got 66% of current listings that are investor units on the market right now. Some are so desperate that they're listed with tenants.
Yeah.
Right?
And-
33% of the 66% are listed with tenants because they just have to get out. And we all know how fun it is to list something with a tenant, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a client who bought and is tenanted, very high rents for what it is, like 400 square feet. I think they got $2,800
400 square feet.
$2,800 a month furnished. And they had that tenant for a while. Tenant moved out. They've re-signed it. And, you know, they're like, we have to liquidate. Our rate went up and all this other stuff. And I'm like, look, your rents are astronomical for what you have. Like, this should be $2,000. You're getting $2,800. Hold out. Don't take this loss. And now they've re-upped. I think April-ish, they're getting $3,000 for it. And they're just going to sit. So instead of taking what I would call it probably a $50,000 loss after everything, they're just going to sit, and they're going to be back almost basically breaking even again, even though their mortgage has essentially doubled in the last 2 years. So some people are going to hold out and hold on, but I think you're going to see more and more, like, everything vacant is, you know what it is. It's just, they're going to start dropping that price $10,000 a month until it gets sold. It's going to have to get liquidated.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like,
hang on. But those are the numbers in the pre-con buildings. I mean, you're at 70% investors buying. So I'm not surprised that 66% of the units that are on the market right now are also from investors. I mean,
sure,
this is the way it's been for a long time.
But the system's obviously not working when you've got basically empty buildings, right? Meanwhile, you got tons of people looking for somewhere to live, right? Everything's being misdirected, right? It's being, why can't the investors profit on a purpose-built rental building that's just easy to deal with, to
aren't
manage?
there, Daryl. The
Well,
returns aren't
we
there.
have
People
to
aren't
find
gonna
a
put
way.
in a $300,000 down
That's it.
payment or deposit to get 6% from Equiton.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
if
they're not here to join that ship. They're here because they want to triple their money because their cousin did it.
They
right?
just
But
want
that
home
has to
runs.
be not an option anymore. Like,
well, right
no
now that's
more.
going to become that way, and over time the market will adjust. Will everyone say, "Oh, you can't make that money anymore"?
Yeah.
And so then they'll say, "Well, what do I do with my 300 grand?"
Yep.
What do I do with my 300 grand?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to build a rental building, bro. And we're going to
There's a fund.
find a way.
The Canadian
right?
Real Estate Show's got a fund. They said
Rental
if I put
building
the money
fund.
in, I got guaranteed returns,
Purpose-built
preferred
rental.
rates.
Yeah.
You know?
Boom.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like, this is
Yeah.
just like, who is doing the thinking around here? Because, like, this is not rocket science, okay? Who is, the banks are the ones that are like leading everything, right? It's like, it's all based around bank safety, right? The bank's money safety. But what's interesting is that whenever we look at these, whenever I look at these bankruptcies or these, what are they called? Receiverships. I always see KingSet's name on it, right? And so this is another layer to the problem, okay? Because listen, KingSet is a wonderful business. They make a ton of money. They get great returns for their investors. The guy who runs that thing is like one of the OGs, okay? Like, that guy's a genius. There's no doubt about it. But as the company gets bigger and bigger and it has more people that are incentivized to get deals through the system, we're starting to see what the results of that process look like, right? Where it's like, well, you know, send me something that shows this, and then now the deal happens and it wasn't really that good, or things went upside down, or the balance sheet wasn't the real balance sheet, and blah, 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 blah. You got these low-level guys pushing deals up through the system that probably shouldn't be there. And even from some big guys who are playing shell games, somehow brilliant companies are getting stuck in this, and pension funds from Quebec and like all these people that are supposed to be super risk adverse and have like analytic teams are stuck in these friggin' disasters, which is kind of scary too, because they're supposed to be smarter than everyone else, right? They're supposed to like plan for this stuff. So I guess if they, and they probably do, so that means they have big loss provisions that could probably absorb these crazy loans that are going south. Imagine having so much money that you could say, okay, it's like 18 million here and 35 here and 42 over there. But like, you know, we did pretty well on the rest of them over the last 25, 30 years. So.
And also, I think the big difference with a lot of these funds are, especially saying things like pension funds, they've got a constant influx of cash flow.
Cash flow or new cash?
Well, they have cash coming in.
Both.
Yeah, they have cash coming in every month, right? So as everything's going up and down, they've got more cash to deploy. So they can kind of average down. They can, you know, they can restructure. Whereas if you're operating a development company where you just have a pool of cash and you don't have a bunch of assets that are pumping you cash in, and then you've taken a big dip, you're in real trouble. Whereas I think the pension funds will just say, it's just going to be, you know, this flow for a little while, and now it's going to trend down, and, you know, we're just going to end up buying more. Sorry, we're going to invest in more, and we'll make it kind of on the way back up, or we'll make it because we've got so much more, I don't know what you call it, like
Time horizon.
Yeah,
Right? You
exactly.
got
Yeah.
50 years.
It's
So much
75
easier to
year
take risks with other
focuses.
people's money.
Over 50
right?
years
When you
too,
know
though.
that when there's going to be more money coming in, right? It's just
Sure.
you can make a much more like level-headed decision where you can
Yeah.
say, yeah, we can lose, we can take that risk because we know that the time
Yeah.
horizon is long enough for us to be able to recover all of this, right?
If
Whereas
you
a small
can take
developer,
Right.
it's a lot.
huge multi-million-dollar bets every month
Mhm.
for infinity, theoretically, you know, as long as the country's going and those workers are paying into those funds,
Yeah.
you're not really going to lose.
I do analysis on some of these buildings that I see these big companies buy, right? And I'm like, I don't get how this works, right? But when you take something over 50 years and you can add some refinancing along the way and some, you know, assumptions on some appreciation, and you know that the rents are going to go up 1.8 to 2.5% for the next 50 years, it's not hard to make a performa look good. But I think if we really dig deep into all these things, like if one little thing changes, all hell breaks loose. I think, because I don't know. They're not paying cash. These are all big, heavily indebted companies. They all have investors on top of that. I don't know how all these numbers work, quite honestly, but I guess if there's enough money spinning around, anything works for a while, right?
Yeah, you can hide what's not working as long as there's enough like kind of grease for the wheels. And now what's happening is all that grease is getting vacuumed out the last 18 months. And it's kind of grinding to this halt right now for a lot of developers, I think. I was going to ask you, Darryl, what do you think of the MTSA, PMTSA stuff coming through? What do you think that's going to do? Like, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking there's going to be a huge amount of density that's in a market where values are already down. I think the per square foot rates for land are going to come down tremendously. So after that, the site values might go up, but the per square foot's are going to come down.
Yeah, that is the natural, that's what just happens because they're just giving you more density on the same thing. That has to happen. But like, and the prices are coming down as well, and interest rates are still a lot higher. And like, most of the land in my experience has not really come down much. I mean, there's been some troubled properties, but like the overall market doesn't feel like it's down. So, and then on top of it, a lot of the people, I keep saying, sorry, maybe this doesn't answer the question, but a lot of the sites, because of this stuff, the MTSAs and the PTMSAs and all the other zoning stuff coming down the pipe, they're all going back in for resubmission when they're already almost zoned. So like, that does something to values too. I think values are so fucked up and nobody has a bloody clue right now. This is what I said last week or the week before. It's like, it's so confusing. You just really have to like have enough room that you can make mistakes and still be fine right now. Because if you're buying something downtown based on getting 16, 1700 bucks a foot right now, like that's a really risky bet. Right. And so now you can't pay that much for the land, and the landowners don't want to sell. So I don't know, that I think just a lot of things won't transact for those bigger, nicer sites. And we're going to see like more of these mid-rises all over the place, because that's where guys can just get like a deal that makes sense now with enough spread. Because the game has always been finding the hole in the planning, right? Find that new thing that's going to give you margin that nobody else knows about. And so with all this new planning, I can only imagine what guys are coming up with. I see what I've come up with, and it's friggin' brilliant, to be honest with you. But I'm sure other guys are coming up with way better stuff than me that is going to make those values per square foot that you're talking about disappear, right? Compared to where they were. So something that you would have paid 120 bucks for normally, and people might think you're crazy, when you get what you know is coming, you're going to really be paying 70, right? Right.
So just to clarify sort of what Jared was saying, and for people who are listening, so because of the density increase, it's sort of changing the expectations of developers. So they're like, geez, like I was paying, 150 a buildable before, but now it's 70. And so if I'm going to go buy a site outside the MTSA, well, now I want to be paying a lot less because I was getting a great deal on those sites, before. Right. And so I think that that's something that, for people to understand, doesn't necessarily create the end user any cheaper product. Like it doesn't actually make the condo prices less. All it does is it means that those great locations will have these, same priced units that the builder's expectations are that they can make more profit on. And then they just go to the next site and say, well, in order for me to make this work, I have to be able to get it at a certain price. Otherwise, I won't invest in it.
Right.
Which means it doesn't get built. Right. And the sellers don't want to take less money. We know that.
Yep.
The people who own the land are not all the big developers. They've got sites, they got zone sites, but they're not sitting on buildings for 20 years. That's a little, mechanic shop on, Dundas or whatever like that, waiting for the market to change.
No,
but they want their money
it,
to be active.
And it's one thing for people to figure things out in an up market when everything, like, you can count on some up, right? You don't know how much up, but you can count on up. Right now, there's so much construction costs are coming down, but the end prices are kind of coming down right now also. And there's no sales out there, right? Yeah. Land prices are whatever. People are crazy and interest rates are double, right? Depending on when you or how long you've been shopping for. And it's harder to get that loan if you want it, right? Harder to qualify, harder to guarantee. Like they just want more blood from the stone. So it's like there's no environment here to figure things out well right now, which makes guys not do things, right? Because like I was saying before, most people don't have to do the deal. They're waiting around for the right thing that checks all the boxes now. Not some of them, because it's good times are here. It doesn't matter what you do. Oh, check 3 out of 6 boxes. Let's go. We got the guys are waiting with money. These guys are waiting with debt. Everything's beautiful. Go, go, go. Now it's like people are like, like they're looking a little bit longer. They're thinking a little bit more. They're not sure. It doesn't make sense. And then, I don't know, maybe there's a tree issue. So you go, you know what? Maybe I'm going to stay out of this one now, right? Because that tree issue could really screw things up for me. I don't need this shit right now. Right. Whereas before it'd be like, things are going, like, who cares about the tree? We'll figure out the trees later. Right. Or there's a tenant. We'll figure it out later. Things are grooving. Now it's like, oh my God, like that's going to cost, $200,000 to deal with. That's going to, put us below the threshold. And now we can't get our equity partners and like, oh my God. Right. And you have to also get all these people to believe you in an environment where, depending on which media you follow, you don't know what the hell's going on out there, right? It is definitely, I can't see a scenario where even if they come down temporarily, like where prices don't go bananas, at least in Toronto and Vancouver, like bananas, right? And people will counter that with like, there's no supply issue. There's 20,000 condos available and blah, 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 blah. But they're shitty condos nobody wants. They're 3 bedrooms, or they're like on the 3rd floor tucked in between 3 buildings. And like, they're just all the shitty units that are left. It's just a big city. But like 20,000 units out of all the houses that there are here, it's like not even 1%. It's like not even 0.5%. So like
it's a question for the times, I mean, that's what it is what's going to happen in the future. Nobody knows. And I think the people who are taking chances now are going to be rewarded. I think that's when people are making money, is that there's a lot of fear. Like you said, Jared, you're not seeing any land deals transact, but there must be some happening behind the scenes somewhere. And those are going to be the deals that when people look back, they say, man, I should have got in when people weren't buying. Because when everyone was buying.
I think the best thing to be buying right now is on the periphery of the city. These huge sites that used to be a trucking company or something like this, where you're getting acres, things like Scarborough Junction, that project there. Things of that nature, that size, this is a 15-year build out. This is going to be a big now's the time to try to get your hands on those things, because those companies are generally not doing so hot, whoever owns that land to begin with. If it's a furniture company or something, some other industry that's not doing well, and they've owned that land for 15 years and they just can't keep going. You go, great, I'll do this deal with you. I'm going to put it through zoning. You'll get another 5 years and you'll make a bundle selling your land to me down the road. But I think what TK is saying, right? The guys that are going to look like geniuses in the future are the guys that are trying to do stuff now to lock it in when it's an unknown. Because in unknown, I don't know, Darryl, you do this a lot more
I
than
fucking hope so.
yeah, I
I'm
think
balls deep right now, baby.
Yeah.
I'm going crazy right now.
yeah, I think now is the time where you're going to get the seller's concessions on things, and that's going to disappear at some point in time again.
Jared, we're at the end of the show. Unfortunately, we'd be happy to get you back on again. Let's get a shameless plug here, where people can find you. And
I am
social
Jared
media
SK
contact.
Realtor, I think on TikTok, and Jared SK on Instagram. I am not doing YouTube at the moment, but I might consider doing something around fixing the housing crisis as a
As long as
YouTube.
you're not doing it for the money, it's a great place to
That's
be.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Do
Yeah.
not do this
No money
for
in
the
it,
money.
but it's a great time. So,
Wonderful.
we
It's a good way
appreciate
to
you coming on
burn
today.
a lot of money.
Good
though, right?
conversation. Lots of good stuff. I'm happy someone can talk with Darryl a lot more about some of the development stuff and pick his brains.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
No, Darryl's great. Darryl's great. Nice to meet
Yeah.
you, TK.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
You as
guys.
well.
Have a great day.
Adios.